Where life meandered at a pleasant, predictable pace, the Morning Brew Café stood as the vibrant core of the community. Amidst the cheerful clinking of mugs and the rich scent of freshly ground coffee, 17-year-old Elara worked diligently. A diligent student with top grades and a part-time job as a server, she possessed a quiet resilience and a family surname that carried more weight than most realized. One ordinary Tuesday, Patrolman Rex Griffin strode into the cafe. Known for his brusque manner and overbearing tactics, Griffin exuded an air of self-importance that was as much a part of him as his uniform. He settled into his usual corner booth, a silent, unsmiling presence. Elara approached him, order pad in hand, her voice courteous. "Good morning, sir. May I get you anything?" Griffin interrupted her sharply. "Just get the coffee right. No back talk." Elara calmly nodded. "Of course, black, 2 sugars." "What? You memorizing orders now?" he scoffed. "Don't get cocky." The cafe's hushed chatter faltered. A spoon clinked, but no one spoke. Not to Griffin. "What's with the attitude?" he pressed. "Didn't your mother teach you manners?" Elara blinked. A flicker of bewilderment in her eyes. "I apologize, sir," she said gracefully, turning away. She returned moments later with his coffee, placing it down gently. Her composed, dignified silence seemed to irritate him more than any defiance could. Without warning, Griffin seized the water glass beside him and, with a deliberate, spiteful motion, poured its contents down Elara's front. A collective gasp rippled through the cafe. "Maybe that'll cool that attitude," he muttered, leaning back with a smug expression. Elara stood frozen, dripping, mortified. Her hand trembled, but her voice was steady. "Excuse me a moment," she said quietly, retreating to the back room. There, she pulled out her phone and dialed a single number. It rang once. "Aunt Bethany, I need you to come down to the Morning Brew. Now." 10 minutes later, the cafe door swung open. Police Commissioner Bethany Vance entered, not in uniform, but her presence commanded immediate attention. Her gaze swept the room, landing first on her soaked niece, then on Patrolman Rex Griffin. "Patrolman Griffin," she said, her voice chillingly calm. "My office, now." The cafe watched in stunned silence as Griffin, still bewildered, followed his commissioner. He didn't know yet. He didn't know the girl he had just publicly shamed was family to the one person in Oakhaven he couldn't cross. And he had no idea that within the hour his badge would be gone. The atmosphere in the Morning Brew remained thick with unspoken tension. Elara, her uniform clinging to her, quietly dabbed at the dampness, her mind replaying the splash, the sneer. This wasn't her first encounter with individuals like Griffin, but it was the first time it had felt so personal. Yet, a peculiar tranquility settled over her. She knew her silence wasn't weakness, it was a storm gathering. In Commissioner Vance's office, Griffin sat rigidly, still anticipating a lecture. Bethany Vance closed the door, her gaze level and unyielding. "Do you enjoy embarrassing young women in public?" she asked, her voice deceptively soft. Griffin, incredulous, claimed he hadn't touched her, that she was rude. "You poured water on her in front of 24 people, Bethany countered. "She's 17, a minor. She spoke to you with nothing but respect, and you decided that wasn't enough. You think that's how we wear the badge?" Griffin's confidence visibly wavered. "I didn't know who she was," he mumbled. "That's precisely the problem," Bethany replied, her voice cold. She then laid out Griffin's history of misconduct, detailing years of complaints and suspensions. "I kept you on against my better judgment, but this time it's different." "Because she's your niece?" Griffin snapped. "No," Bethany stated, her expression unchanged. "Because she's a person." She then presented Griffin with his resignation papers. "Sign this now. Either hand over your badge quietly or I open a formal investigation. Either way, by sundown, you won't be wearing a uniform in Oakhaven again." Meanwhile, Elara found solace in the cafe's kitchen, reflecting on her mother's advice to simply let things go. But Elara wasn't built for shrinking. She understood that sometimes what needs to change begins with standing firm. Rex Griffin left the commissioner's office, badge gone, his face pale. He began making calls, seeking leverage, determined to bring someone else down. He unearthed an old disciplinary log from 2009 detailing an incident where Commissioner Vance, then a lieutenant, had called off backup during a drug sweep. The report, marked with a note about discretion over procedure, became Griffin's new weapon. He didn't need proof, just a narrative of doubt. At Oakhaven High, Elara felt the subtle backlash. Whispers of cop girl followed her. Teachers expressed concerns about distractions. When her guidance counselor suggested her issues stemmed from being distracted, Elara directly asked, would they be concerned if my aunt wasn't the commissioner of police? She realized she was focused, just not on keeping people comfortable. Later, Commissioner Vance confided in Elara about the 2009 incident. She explained how she chose to protect young lives by avoiding a public spectacle that would have ruined them. People like Griffin, she explained, they don't care about nuance. They only care about what can be twisted. Elara understood. Even clean hands could be soiled by rumors. Griffin, meanwhile, uploaded the old report to an anonymous tip box on a conservative county newsletter, aiming to erode trust. The next morning, Commissioner Vance found the headline, 2009 cover-up, questions arise around police commissioner's past raid. At school, Elara found a note in her locker, your aunt's not as clean as you think. Check the news, princess. Even her best friend, Sophie, distanced herself, fearing being dragged into things. Elara felt a deep disappointment, realizing how quickly loyalty melted under pressure. A few days later, Sophie found Elara at the cafe, offering a heartfelt apology. I should have stood next to you, she admitted. You stood there soaked in water and still walked with your head up. I hid behind whispers. Recognizing the sincerity, Elara replied, then don't just apologize. Stand next to me loudly. Their friendship, tested by pressure, was reinforced. Commissioner Vance too received a quiet message of support, an anonymous letter from the mother of Liam Davis, the boy she saved in 2009. You did the right thing. This town needs you, it read. Undeterred by the limited impact of his newsletter leak, Griffin escalated his campaign. He called in a favor from an old friend at a regional news station. Soon, a segment titled Silent Decisions, questions surround Oakhaven's police commissioner aired, featuring Griffin's thinly veiled accusations. Commissioner Vance, however, remained steadfast. She gathered her officers, stating she would not apologize for choosing life over headlines. That afternoon, Elara spoke at the high school's Civic Voices Assembly. My name is Elara, she began. I was humiliated in public by a man who thought power made him untouchable. He poured water on me because I didn't shrink for him. But silence isn't safety. It's just someone else's comfort. She concluded, dignity doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just refuses to drown. The auditorium erupted in applause. That night, Commissioner Vance watched Elara's speech, her heart swelling with pride. Rex Griffin, watching the same clip, silently closed his laptop, realizing he had lost the moral ground. He received a call from Internal Affairs. They wanted to speak with him about his statements to the press. Commissioner Vance remained in her position, overwhelmingly supported by her department. Elara received an invitation to speak at a regional youth civic forum in Atlanta. She hadn't applied, they simply wanted her voice. Rex Griffin vanished from Oakhaven, leaving behind a letter with the mayor. You're right. She wasn't the problem. I was. Tell her I didn't realize until too late that dignity can't be washed off. Badging closed. Justice was served not with handcuffs or headlines, but with a young woman standing taller than the man who tried to drown her dignity. A former officer lost his power. A community found its voice. And Elara, who just wanted to finish her shifts, discovered she was built for something far bigger than she ever imagined.